Today, we're diving straight into something that is, honestly, super heavy but incredibly relatable. We're talking about financial regrets and specifically the very real, hard costs of delaying your investments. So if you've ever sat there feeling like, you just totally missed the boat with your money, stick around because you are absolutely in the right place.
I should have started 10 years ago. Man, I hear this all the time. It is probably the single most common regret in the entire world of personal finance. And the really tragic part here, it almost always leads directly to people just giving up. They don't start at all because the moment already feels totally wasted, right? It's like we feel we've already failed before we've even begun, so we just freeze up entirely.
But here is a really fascinating mathematical reality that we have to look at. Waiting another year, just to avoid that awful feeling of being behind, it is almost always mathematically worse than just starting today. Because whether you feel 10 years behind or not, the math literally doesn't care about our regret. It really doesn't. It only cares about our actions right now.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To understand why that missed decade hurts quite so much, we have to talk about compound growth. The rule is simple. The earliest dollars you invest have the most time to compound. That's just an absolute mathematical fact, and yeah, it's exactly why we beat ourselves up for not starting sooner. I mean, it's a lot like planting a tree, right? The one you planted a decade ago is giving you shade today, whereas a seed planted today, well, it still needs time. The money we could have put in back then would have been quietly multiplying, just working for us this entire time.
But here is exactly where it all goes wrong. People actually use that fact to argue that starting now is just pointless because, well, the best case scenario already passed them by. But notice the contrast we're looking at here. On the left side, you've got today versus 10 years ago. Listen, that is a choice that simply no longer exists. You literally cannot choose it. The comparison that actually matters, the only real choice you have full control over right this second, is on the right side. Today versus next year.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the gap. If we take someone who invests a modest, consistent amount starting today, assuming historical average market returns, and then we compare them to an identical person who waits just one single solitary additional year to start, the gap is honestly staggering. Just look at how that divide widens over 10, 20, and 30-year horizons. Every single additional year you delay means you are permanently losing a full year of compounding at the very end of your timeline, and that is directly on top of what was already missed.
Now, obviously, the specific numbers might change depending on exactly what you invest in, but the shape of that curve, it absolutely never changes. The true cost of waiting is not the missed years in the past. It's the next delayed year. It's every single additional year you choose to keep waiting, starting right now. So we really need a major psychological shift here. You have got to stop grieving the past decade and start actively protecting the next one. That exact reframe is the secret to overcoming this whole feeling of being too late.
The biggest barrier for most people is what we call the comparison trap. That's when you compare yourself to this imagined past version of your own life that just doesn't exist anymore. Think of it as a really brutal variation of the highlight reel problem we see all the time on social media. Except, instead of getting discouraged by some stranger's perfect feed, you're getting discouraged by a fantasy past version of yourself. The one who flawlessly started investing at age 22. It produces this deeply discouraged, totally frozen response. Honestly, it's kind of like putting off going to the gym because you aren't already in perfect shape.
And that frozen response, it's incredibly dangerous. Being frozen basically guarantees that the compounding gap is going to keep growing indefinitely instead of finally starting to close. The story you tell yourself about being too late, it's not just some sad, passive feeling. It is actively, measurably costly. It is literally costing you real wealth every single year you don't start.
Now, it is incredibly common to wonder about this next part. Take a look at this number, $50. If you only have a small, highly accessible amount like $50 a month to spare, you're probably thinking, is this even worth it? The natural urge is to just wait. Wait until you get that big promotion or finally pay off the car, so you have this ideal, much larger amount to invest all at once. And hey, that's a completely valid feeling. But let's actually look at what the research says.
And this brilliantly illustrates why starting small actually wins out. The research here is remarkably consistent. Starting immediately with a smaller, sustainable amount completely outperforms waiting around for some big windfall. Why? Well, first off, you gain that vital additional compounding time we talked about. Second, small, automated amounts are just psychologically sustainable. They aren't going to stress your monthly budget to the breaking point. And third, it totally helps you avoid the trap of waiting for a perfect moment that, let's be real, just keeps getting pushed further and further back anyway.
Listen, you absolutely do not need to be a market expert, and you certainly don't need to try and time the market to execute this playbook.
We've got it down to 3 super simple steps. Step 1, just automate a modest, sustainable amount immediately. Step 2, favor broad, diversified options instead of trying to pick individual investments. And step 3, increase those contributions gradually as your income allows over time, rather than waiting to start until you hit your eventual target amount.
I really want to elaborate on this quote because it is just so freeing. The goal is starting consistently, not picking perfectly. Think about it. By automating your modest amount, you remove the motivation hurdle entirely. You don't have to bravely decide to invest every single month. It just happens in the background. And by using broad, diversified funds, you completely remove the pressure of having to predict which specific individual stock is going to win. Actually, scratch that. It's more like you're just capturing the whole market, quietly and consistently. No stress required.
Okay, here is the ultimate reassurance I want you to walk away with today. The decade you didn't invest? Yeah, it's genuinely gone. That's true. And frankly, no amount of frustration is going to bring that specific compounding back. But the next decade hasn't happened yet. And here's the beautiful part. It will respond exactly the same way to a decision you make today as it would have to a decision you made 10 years ago. The math is not asking you to go back in time. It is simply asking you to stop waiting for a version of today that has already passed.
Which leaves us with this final question. Will you protect your next decade? I'm challenging you, right now, to open that investment account today. Seriously, don't wait for the new year, don't wait for next month, just do it today. And once you do, or hey, if there's still something holding you back, let me know in the comments. What is the one thing that's actually kept you from starting? Thank you so much for joining me, and I really look forward to seeing you take control of your financial future.